What's up everybody? Today I'm going to be taking you through some of my favorite exercises to build your front delt. So these shoulders exercises are some of the favorites of my clients, as well as what I like to do myself. So come follow along, check them out. I'm going to give you my best tips on execution and kind of explain a little bit more about the exercises and why they work as well. Come follow along. So movement number one that I'm going to be sharing with you is a chest supported front raise. Now these are probably one of my favorites. So we'll open with these and then I'm gonna kind of give you some other options that you can use for your front delts as well. But these are probably the ones I program the most because I tend to find that they get great results because they kind of lock you in place. All right, now you'll see what I mean here. Now, when we include some kind of support, it locks us in place. We get kind of better output from the muscle that we're trying to target. And this is where, especially with front raises, they really come in useful. Now, when you're standing with front raises, what you tend to find is that your back gets a little bit more involved and becomes a bit more of a limited factor. You start swinging the dumbbells, which obviously isn't ideal using body English. Whereas when you support yourself on a bench like this, you can't do any of those, okay? So you can't swing the dumbbells, you can't use any other muscles to kind of cheat that weight up. So I've got this bench set here to kind of 70 degrees or so. You can vary that depending on kind of what feels good for you. Now, I really like to do these with my knees quite far forwards. Now you'll see what I mean in a second, okay? So chest supported there. Now what you find with these is that you lose the tension obviously at the bottom, right? Gravity pointing downwards, I'm losing tension there. Now if instead we bring our knees a little bit further forwards, we're keeping that arm a little bit further forwards, all right? So we're keeping tension on our shoulders. So what happens is it almost acts as kind of like a stopping point. So I'm not coming down too far, all right? So we're kind of keeping ourselves in a position where we're maintaining tension throughout the entire motion, but then also we've got that stopping point where we know we've achieved that full range of motion and then we can repeat, okay? So I'm chest supported on the bench. I'm starting on my knees and all I'm doing is just raising directly in front to kind of parallel with the floor and then just a very soft tap and go on my thighs. So you can see my thighs are just acting as kind of a depth gauge for where I'm trying to go to every single time. Now, as you can see, there's no momentum at all. I'm really dominating that eccentric, controlling the weight all the way down. And as the intention of the exercise, I'm trying to focus on my front delts performing the work, okay? Now, a little trick here, if you find that your upper traps are kicking in, now I know with a lot of my female competitors, you really don't want your upper traps kicking in. It's not a nice look to develop that area. What you can do is you can elevate yourself a little bit on the bench, a little bit of a trick here, and you can drive your chin down into the bench a little bit, okay? By driving your chin down, you're kind of activating those scalenes, those other neck flexors, which helps kind of switch off those traps, all right? I'm not gonna show you that today, but what I would tend to do if I want to elevate myself a little bit higher on this bench, I put a kind of couple of Airex pads on underneath my butt just to kind of elevate myself a little bit more. Or obviously, if you have access to a shorter bench, then you'd use that. Otherwise, you're kind of here, strict, and raise into parallel with the floor. Okay, so that's exercise number one. Let's head into exercise number two, another favorite of mine. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more sadistic, then a front raise with a barbell mechanical drop set is just what you've ordered. So I'm going to be showing you that right now. I've shared this a few times on social media. People absolutely love/hate this one. So obviously I want to include it in this video to give you kind of max value. All right. Now I've got a really light bar here just for demo purposes, but you're going to choose a bar weight that is challenging for your first number of reps. Okay. Now what I mean by that is that let's say I have a rep target of 10 on the first part, then I want to be picking a weight that's challenging for that 10, all right? Now I'll show you how it all looks and then everything will kind of make more sense as I go along, all right? Now, I'm supported on this one like that first exercise, but I'm kind of over the bench. Now the trick with this one is to start off with kind of a biacromial grip. Now biacromial grip is basically kind of like 8 to 10 inches apart, all right? So it's just slightly narrower than shoulders width. Slight bend in your elbows, and what you're doing is raising to here, kind of head height, and then back down. Don't lose tension by coming too far down, okay? So you're here to here. Now, as I said, let's say I want to hit 10 reps today, okay? Then that 10th needs to be challenging. Once I hit that 10th rep and it's a challenge, I'm going to switch to a medium grip, okay? So medium grip is about shoulder's width or just slightly wider than that. And then I'm going to keep going, okay? So it's a mechanical drop set. So by taking that grip a little bit wider, it allows me to get some more reps. Now, if I took that first set to failure, I'm probably not going to be getting any more than like 6, 7 reps maybe when I take that wider grip, okay? So imagine I've done that slightly wider grip and I've gone to failure again. Now I'm going to take an ultra wide grip, and again, I'm going to keep going all the way until I hit technical failure. And again, let's imagine I took each of those prior exercises to technical failure. I'm probably only going to be getting like 4 to 6 max on that ultra wide grip, okay? So that's one set. So I'm using a narrow grip, a medium grip, and then a wider grip, all one after each other with a nice heavy weight that allows you to reach close to failure with that first narrower grip, okay? So that's one set. You might only do like 2 sets of this one. It's a really good one to finish off your workouts with because your front delts will feel pumped. You won't feel as though you've got a lot left in them. And just mentally, it's just great to kind of finish off with a nice kind of sadistic exercise at the end. So that's exercise number 2. It's a front raise or front barbell raise mechanical drop set. Give it a try. Let us know how you get along. So we're going to stick with the bench for the next exercise. I call these pyramid front raises because we're kind of raising up a little bit like a pyramid, but I've seen them being called various things, including height front raises, after Dr. Clay Height, who's a chiropractor. As I said, various names, okay? You can call them whatever you want, but I call them pyramid front raises, all right? Now, these are a good option to load your front delts in that stretch. Now, especially on social media at the moment, we're getting a lot of talk over stretch-mediated hypertrophy. I'm not going to go into the details, but in research, there's no such thing really as stretch-mediated hypertrophy. It's kind of a term that's been coined and going around social media at the moment. But that's not to say there isn't a benefit to loading that stretched range of motion a little bit more frequently, or having a little bit more emphasis on it rather than that shortened range of motion. Although there obviously are benefits to shortened range of motion exercises, okay? Here's me waffling on about some random topic without showing you the exercise. So let's just kind of throw you into the exercise. Now, you'll see from this setup, I've got this bench set to kind of like 30 degrees. Now this depends on your shoulders range of motion. You can kind of set it up to more like 45 degrees if you want to. But as I said, it varies based on you. Now, what you'll find that's happening here is in that bottom position, I'm still getting some load, okay? Whereas if I'm here, I'm losing that load. So by taking myself to kind of like that 45-degree incline, I'm maintaining some tension at the bottom, loading that stretch range of motion in my front delts and obviously in my upper pecs as well, which is great for guys. So this position here, kind of puff my chest out a little bit and raising up almost like an inverted V, so like a pyramid, and then all the way back down nice and wide, okay? So get that full stretch and then up to here. Try not to raise all the way over here because obviously you're losing all your tension here. So we're only raising to about here, all right? So pyramid front raises. Now, if you're feeling a little bit sadistic, like the last exercise, you can do this as a little bit of a mechanical drop set. So what you can do is you can start actually seated in a more upright position, and you can do these to start off with. So although you're not loading that stretch, you're loading a little bit more of that shortened range at the top because of obviously how gravity is acting on the dumbbells. So it's here to here. And then once you reach failure here, because you tend to always reach failure in the shortened range before a stretch range anyway. But then also mechanically, we're making this exercise a little bit easier by dropping back. So once you reach failure here, all you do is you drop back and you continue your reps. So like the mechanical drop set with the barbell, you're obviously looking to have reached failure on that first movement before switching over to the second. Now, mechanical drop sets, really you can use anywhere between like 2 to 4 exercises. So obviously the last mechanical drop set we showed has 3. So the narrower, the medium, and the wide grip with the barbell. This one's just got 2, all right? So pyramid front raises, another great option to work your front delts, more in that stretch range of motion. Let's show you another really great exercise, probably my favorite to work that, lengthen that stretch range of motion next. Next up, cable front raises. So we're gonna do these as a cable cuffed front raise because we've got the Team EPT cable cuffs handy. And there's various reasons why we might want to use a cuff. One of them including obviously we save our wrists a little bit, so a little bit more kind of longevity. If you've got injuries, niggly kind of joints, they're really, really great. But then also you just get a nice feel, a nice kind of sensation with them. So you're no longer kind of focusing on your grip. Instead, you're focusing on exactly what we're trying to get from the exercise, which in this case is trying to target our anterior delts. Now, if you do not have cable cuffs, obviously you can just use, on this one, we like to use a neutral grip. So a rope would be best. Okay, I'll just give you a quick idea of what I mean with a rope. So with a rope, so I call these donkey bollocks. With a rope, you might just do that, okay? So you'll obviously attach that end of the rope to the carabiner and then you'll hold like that, okay? If you're not using a neutral grip and an overhand grip instead, obviously you can use like a D handle and hold with an overhand grip, all right? Now, obviously we're using cuffs, so just make sure they're nice and tight around your wrists. We're gonna start in a neutral position here, okay? So it's kind of palm facing in like a hammer, all right? So we're just gonna take a step forwards. Now the height of the cable is set up so I get a nice stretch back here. Now, arguably, I could set that a little bit higher so the point of maximal load is a little bit more kind of optimal for kind of loading that stretch. But what happens if I set it higher is that I tend to lose a little bit more tension as I come to the top. And actually, I personally feel it gets a little bit awkward, okay? So we're kind of setting it about kind of fingertips height, all right? So we step away, we create some tension there, pin those shoulder blades back just a little bit, okay, which creates some kind of stability, all right? And all we're gonna do is raise in that front raise position, all right? So we're coming to about head height, nice full range of motion as far back as you can and as comfortable as your shoulders will allow, and then repeat. So full stretch and back. Now, I don't mind if you feel these a little bit more by kind of angling yourself away, all right? Now, you could argue this kind of shifts the emphasis a little bit, all right? But if you feel it a little bit more by shifting away to this angle, then I'm really happy for you to use that as well. And some argue that this might be a better position for that stretch mediated hypertrophy kind of stimulus, all right? Alternatively, if you feel better by kind of coming at this angle, I'm just as happy, all right? So whatever angle feels good for you, especially when it comes to shoulders, you want to kind of pay attention to actually how they feel during the movement. Now, if it feels a little bit weird to you to use cable cuffs, I quite like having something to hold. Now, you can use like a stirrup handle to hold that. You can even attach the stirrup handle onto your carabiner so you don't lose it. So you're just holding that almost as just kind of something just to kind of keep your fingers busy, all right? But you're still performing the same movement where that load is coming through the cable, all right? But we've now got something to hold. I've also, before with clients, told them to use like fat grips. You can grip a nice fat grip. You can even hold a mobile phone if you just need something to hold on to, okay? So another great option there, cable front raise. That's how you should do them. Give them a try. Let me know how you get along. So up to this point, I've only shared with you some isolation exercises. So it would only make sense that I give you a pressing option. Now, most shoulder press variations do a pretty great job are working those front shoulders, those anterior delts anyway. But if you want something that isolates those anterior delts a little bit more in a shoulder press variation, then this exercise is one that I've shared a few times recently. A lot of people are enjoying it. I'm not going to claim I came up with it because someone probably somewhere has done it before, okay? But I've kind of popularized it a little bit more, okay? So it's a lean away one arm dumbbell shoulder press. It's a bit of a mouthful. You want to use like a cable stack or to be honest, you can use a rack. You can use anything you can grab hold of, okay? Just to slightly lean you away from it. Now, if you prefer to lean away, kind of locking in here or here, don't mind, but you just create a slight angle. Now, bring that dumbbell up to kind of shoulders using an underhand grip. Now, don't select a dumbbell based on ego because these are super humbling. I'm using 7.5 kgs here. I'd probably do a working set with closer to like 15, 17.5. So maybe something like 40 pounds. So it's not something massively heavy, all right? So start light and build it up. Underhand grip, keep your elbow away. We're not tucking our elbow in here. Arnold presses like this are not working very well. We want to keep that elbow away from the body. Now, the key here is to press directly vertically up, okay? What I'm seeing people trying at the moment when they're trying to kind of emulate the movement that I've shared is they're pressing it up and kind of using that same arm path that they would if they were doing like an overhead press here, okay? Instead, we want to lean away. So by leaning away, it allows us to kind of maintain a little bit of tension and load kind of on that anterior delt as we press to that top position, okay? So we're here, we're elbow in, but keeping that tension, and then vertically as much as we can, all right? So here to here. So really control that eccentric, make the most of that stretch at the bottom. And even the lightest weight here will feel really humbling, okay? So I know that exercise is a little bit of a mouthful. You can call it what you want, to be honest. But as I said, really big fan of it. A bunch of my athletes have used it and we're seeing some really great results from it as well. Now, I wouldn't use this as an alternative to like your meat and potatoes heavier press that you might do more towards the beginning half of your workout. But it's a great option to add in more towards the end as a bit of isolation work. And you know, it's kind of like a hybrid between like a compound, it's technically a compound lift because it's multi-joint, but then also it's a slightly lighter exercise and it kind of falls under the realm of achieving more with less weight, which obviously we get out of isolation exercises as well. So give that one a shot. Let me know how you get along. One more exercise to show you, which I'm a big fan of. I'll show you that now. Last up, I call these plate delt scoops. Now, just because there's gym and access to different plates, this is all I've got. Now, in an ideal world, what you want to be using is an Olympic size plate. So it's obviously all the same radius. So when you go up in weight, it doesn't really change the movement because you're still holding the same grip width, all right? I don't have access to Olympic plates here, so it's just a slightly smaller plate, all right? So remember those old school like bus drivers here, okay? These are kind of like a much better alternative to those. So we're gonna start here with a kind of an underhand, kind of a slight underhand grip, okay, as we come up, all right? Elbow slightly soft. As we raise up overhead, we're gonna twist it, okay? And we're gonna twist it more into an underhand grip. So it's kind of like a scoop with that bottom hand and almost kind of like a face pull with the top hand, all right? So it's here and back down to here and back down, okay? So with the plate, as I said, I'd ideally do this with a slightly wider plate, all right? So it's here and scoop, here and scoop, okay? So it's that bottom hand hooking up almost like an uppercut overhead. So again, really great move to kind of finish off those anterior delts and super humbling. So I'm only using like a 15 kg plate here. I could obviously try it with a 20, but I'm not into kind of doing some working sets for a YouTube video. I'll save those for my own workout later on. But plate delt uppercuts, really big fan of those, and another one you can throw into your workouts. So hopefully you've enjoyed those. You've got some ideas, you've got some movements you can take away with you and try and incorporate into your own workouts to get better results and help kind of balloon up those front delts and create that more kind of 3D look in your shoulders. Let me know how you get along. Let me know if you try them. And as always, remember to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss future posts.